Right, how are you doing? He's hoping that all is well with you. The long-awaited conversation is actually here. It is in Focus O'Clock. As always, my name is Eugene Anangwe. Thank you for making time. Thank you for joining us. Over the next 1.5 hours, we're going to be having a conversation on the face of citizen participation in the next parliament. Yes, I said it, 1.5 hours. That is the good news we have tonight as far as this particular show is concerned. And the question is, how do they plan to have a more people-centered parliament if they are elected? This is the question we're talking about tonight on the program. We'll be taking a look at some of the leaders or officials of the parties that will be participating in the parliamentary election. Of course, we also have the candidates themselves. They're here with us on In Focus. As always, start tweeting hashtag InFocusRW. That is the magic hashtag. If you just add that to your tweet, it will be easier for me to actually track it and read it live. If you have any questions to the panelists in the program, kindly add the hashtag InFocusRW. Let me introduce them real quick. Of course, because we know that we have eaten at least 95 minutes into our time, we have none other than Welaska Samajera, who's from the Rwanda Patriotic Front. Thank you for joining us on the program, sir.
Thank you so much.
Also with us is none other than Kizito Habimana, who's from the Social Democratic Party of Rwanda. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
Also with us is none other than Dr. Barinda Rutebuka from the Liberal Party. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And also in the program is none other than Dr. Frank Habineza from the Democratic Green Party of Rwanda. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
You are from Butare. That's likely why we have started a bit late, so that we can accommodate you in the program. Just very quickly, our focus number one on the program is on the question of citizen outreach. This is something that I'll quote the head of state himself. He said, "Our development partners are better at citizen outreach than we are." Have we been adapted in our own country? Is it our philosophy? Is this our politics? This is what President Paul Kagame did say at the signing of the 2018-2019 Imihigo and the dissolution of the lower house. I want to start with you, Wellers, because you know this is something that has been at the heart of the president. The question of citizen outreach, claiming that it's been spoken about for far too long. And as we look ahead to the next parliament, what sort of reasons do you think did cause the low numbers or levels of citizen outreach in the last parliament?
Well, citizen outreach should be a little bit relative, because in most cases, I happened to be in Parliament some time back.
Right.
And I know by the time we were busy with the actually other roles of parliamentarians, it took actually less time to reach out for citizens. But as it has been demonstrated, especially with the last legislature, a lot of improvement has been done. And I believe we cannot do without that aspect of citizen outreach, because parliamentarians being actually representatives, representatives not meaning, of course, mouthpieces, because that's another concept. We should, I mean, when I say we, I mean we in Rwanda Patriotic Front, we should give more focus to members of parliament reaching out to their constituencies. I wish to remind here that actually the constituency of members of parliament is the whole country.
It's the entire country, indeed.
Yes, the entire country, not simply in the region or any district whatsoever.
Right. So practically, are you happy with the levels of the citizen outreach that the last house had? Because this is what you seem to insinuate.
I just want to say that much effort has been done to improve this aspect, which actually long ago, in the time the parliament has been existing, this aspect was, I couldn't say disregarded, but was given less emphasis.
Less emphasis.
Yes.
Let me jump to the Social Democratic Party. From the name of your party itself, you know, we all seem to expect that it is aligned to social democracy. And the fact that, you know, you're talking social democracy, this is actually should be the ideology of the party. Why is it that the Social Democratic Party, which had members of parliament in the last house, decided to let the you know, the partners of Rwanda, the international community, for that matter, beat us in the issue of citizen outreach? Why?
Yeah, thank you. As far as the Social Democratic Party of Rwanda is concerned, we had parliamentarians in the past parliament, and together with parliament from other political parties, they tried to go out to reach the citizens, as it has been noticed, especially in the community works, Umuganda, at the end of every month, they have been there, and they also participated in the other various development activities. For example, we had parliamentarians from PSD who worked with other partners, especially in the development projects like sanitation projects,
Right.
like infrastructures, like
But the president
water.
feels that that was not enough. The development partners actually are beating us in this game. The question is why?
Yeah, I can't say that they tried their best, but they didn't reach the level where we can say that it is satisfactory. But what we are going to do in this term of 5 years, we are going to improve.
You're
We are
going to improve.
improve,
All right.
especially in the collaboration or in partnership with other partners. We are going to improve.
Right. Let me bring in Dr. Barinda, because from the Liberal Party, you've heard what they've said. He says they tried their best, but their best was not the best. You know, as far as those who are monitoring this are concerned. What happened?
Yeah, thank you. From the Liberal Party perspective, we also acknowledge that various mechanisms have been established to ensure that citizens are reached out by the members of the parliament. Actually, these are the representatives of the citizens, and they should be more accountable, in my view, to the citizens more than other institutions, because they are the direct representatives of the citizens. So the reason why probably they did not do, let me say, better to the best of the satisfaction of the citizens, it is this issue of citizen outreach. It is so dynamic, and it depends on how the beneficiary, the citizens, they want it to reach. So it is a journey. We have to acknowledge that various mechanisms have been established, have been also implemented, but still citizens are demanding to do more.
So you're saying it is a journey, so they just sit there and wait because it will not happen overnight. Is this a message you're sending?
Yeah, it cannot happen overnight. We have to build a system whereby actually citizens will be reached at any time whenever they need members of the parliament to work with them. Actually, in the Liberal Party of Rwanda perspective, we strongly believe that the parliament should be people-centered.
Should be people-centered. This all of us know, and this is the aspiration.
Yes.
Let's now jump to Dr. Habineza, because Frank, the last time you were here, you were vying for presidential position. This time you're here, you know, eyeing the parliamentary position, and of course we cannot overlook that fact. Probably first of all, you could start by telling us why are you running for parliamentary position?
Thank you very much. Yes, that's correct. Last time we were running for president, but we did not win. The RPF candidate won. Leadership, we believe as a party that we can play a leadership role in different capacities, not only as President of the Republic, but we can also play our role as members of parliament or in another capacity. So that's one reason we think that even though our manifesto did not win for president, I believe we still have good ideas which can help in building the country or moving the country forward in the parliament.
Right.
So as a party, it's not me just running, it's the whole party running. And we have 32 candidates, and I'm one of those candidates.
One of the candidates. Let's talk now on the issue of citizen outreach from an outsider's point of view, as far as someone who was not in parliament and someone who's running for the first time for a parliamentary seat. What is your own assessment of how the last parliament performed as far as citizen outreach is concerned?
Yeah, well, if you hear what His Excellency the President of the Republic has been saying, I think it was not satisfactory, the performance of the Parliament as far as citizen outreach is concerned. It was not satisfactory. And this is also evidenced by the long queues or long queue of people wherever the President visits districts, goes to meet the people. You find so many people lining up, asking different questions, and some of them even don't have enough chance to ask him. So you find that there are so many issues that need to be addressed, and the parliamentarians who are in principle representatives of the people, as they call it in Rwanda, in Humwaza Rwanda, like they are representing those people, they have not been able to be good representatives. Because
why do you think so?
I think there are many challenges, as people who are in parliament, these other parties can also highlight on that. But I think what we have seen is that all the problems, the people need answers from the president. Yet if the parliamentarians would have been more proactive, perhaps they would have solved those problems. Even the president would have would focus on other issues. So we think as a party we have a program in our manifesto where we are emphasizing that we are going to increase citizens outreach. We have highlighted a number of issues. One is that can we win some seats in this upcoming parliament? We will see on the district level that, because I mean, we have 8 parliamentarians and all the parliamentarians will be representing, as a constituency, one country. So we can choose maybe at least 2 or 3 parliamentarians who can be focusing on each district, and at least they could go to that district at least once or twice a month. So, I mean, we're proposing twice a month, maybe if it's not easy, maybe once a month, so they could be able to hear the problems of the people. And we're also proposing that, if possible, there could be kind of an office, maybe at district level, where people from sectors can write in some questions, and if the parliamentarians come, they can get those issues, and then they can go down to the village to hear those petitions.
Right.
And we think also like this, we have one day in a month, the community work, Umuganda Day. We think that will be also another good equation, that the parliamentarians can go down on Umuganda Day. And then the people in that district would be informed that the parliamentarians will be here, or if there are 3, they could go to different sectors, and then they could hear from the people. We think that this way, it would help the government to perform better, but also the parliament to do its work, its job of representation.
Work.
Yeah. So that's one of the mechanisms I think. We have other mechanisms which are
highlighted. We will take another round on that. I think now the debate is now open. When I realize these are some of the suggestions that have already started coming in. It says one parliamentarian in charge of some of these areas, of course, working out on the issue of Umuganda. Your quick take on this. Do you think this would actually solve the issue? Was the issue a lack of someone going out to meet the people, or what really happened that can be fixed in the next house?
Well, my point of view is that the issue of constituencies shouldn't be put in question, simply because when parliamentarians are representing the whole nation, it means they are committed to the whole nation. We all know through the history of this country what happened when people are sticking to their constituencies without considering the collective action.
Right.
And it was purposely put into our texts of law and regulations that once a member of parliament is in position, he or she should represent the whole nation.
So you think Habineza is actually trying to introduce a constituency kind of parliamentary system?
That's his opinion, but I think the reasons that were there at the base of choosing parliamentarians standing for the whole country have been amply and exhaustively explained.
Right.
Second, the proposals he's giving petitions and people attending Muganda and so on, these actually, in a way, have been put into action. We should also understand that actually members of parliaments are not there to solve all the questions that are presented by the citizenry. They're simply there to actually listen to the what the citizens want, and then together with other instances draw a way of solving these questions.
So that citizen who had hopes in that parliamentarian to take their issues in the house where the laws are formed should be giving up now when he hears that their role is not
this
to solve
is not what I want to mean.
Right.
What I want to mean is that parliamentarians are not the ones who are going to solve those problems, but they are the ones who are going to channel the problems to instances where they will be solved.
Right.
I don't believe that. However, the reach out could be, this could lead to such a situation whereby issues and questions and challenges that are met by citizenry could be solved like by a magic wand, just only by the parliamentarians. But their role is just taking all these issues and channeling them into the appropriate channels that are there, that have been set to solve the issues. Right. But it will not be themselves to solve those issues.
Solve those particular issues. Kizito, I want to read your thoughts. What exactly should be done uniquely to actually improve citizen outreach? Because at the end of the day, if a parliament does not, or actually fails to do this, then it doesn't meet the purpose, because it's supposed to be there to actually serve the interests of the people as far as representation is concerned. So what do you think should be done? What do you plan to do as PSD when you get in there, if you do?
Yeah, if we win these elections, normally, as I said, a lot of things have been done, and there is still a gap. We need to think of new approaches and innovations.
Which ones have you already started thinking of?
The first one is the parliamentarians, without even going out, we should put in place some mechanism that they always aware or know the socio-economic, environmental governance issues of the citizens. They can even know them through other channels without being there. And we're going to put in place a mechanism whereby we flow, or our parliamentarians flow what is being done there. The second one is our parliamentarians, they have been doing that, but this time they have to be with the people, with the citizens. We have to instill that spirit of being with the citizens, not going there as readers or as parliamentarians. They have to be with them. This means that they have to participate, whether in, as others said, in Muganda or other events. We have many events there in which parliamentarians can participate, for example. And also, our parliamentarians have to know what our citizens really need.
So you feel the last house, most of them did not know these things?
No, they know, but this time they know what the citizens need, but they have to be closer to them. It's like monitoring or getting aware of the complaints of the citizens or other challenges that are
affecting the people,
affecting the people,
right.
So that we can intervene, so that we can work with others, we can intervene on time to solve those problems.
Right, Dr. Barida, when I hear what Kizito is talking about, he tries to insinuate, but diplomatically, that most members of the last house were not aware of social economic happenings in the country. they were out of touch with the people. Much as they attended the Umuganda, they were not really there to actually solve the issues of the people. And the question now is, then how differently will the new House deal with this issue? What role can the citizens then play to actually ensure and push that and ensure that they actually do what they're supposed to do there?
Yeah, I slightly, let me say, disagree with what my friend is saying, that the former House did not actually capture all the needs and the desire of the citizens.
Right.
They tried what they could. But as I said, the demands and the desire and from the citizens, they are very dynamic. They want more and more and more. Now, from the PL perspective, right, we will build on the existing mechanisms because they have been effective, not so much effective, but at least to some extent effective. And
Let's be
we are
practical.
also
Which one
proposing.
exactly will you deal
We are now proposing new other additional mechanisms, such as having open days, whereby actually citizens will be having to visit, let me say, the parliament, have a dialogue with parliamentarians. We are also suggesting to have accountability days, whereby actually members of the parliament specifically will move from the office to see the citizens across the country and work with them and get from them what they want to be changed so that actually we build a parliament which is people-centered. Apart from that, we are also thinking of having special sessions with people across the country. We work with people's representatives, such as actually district councils, sector councils, and the sales councils. We work with them with special sessions because they live with people, they know what they want, they know their desire. So with that kind of special session, we are likely to have more and more parliament, which is people-centered.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Dr. Wineza, first of all, I want to read your thoughts on the rebuttal that came from Wallace Kazamagera here concerning the fact that some of the things that you're proposing sort of look like an introduction of a constituency-based sort of parliamentary system, where you said that you would want to have a parliamentarian in charge of specific areas so that they're able to follow up on those areas and all that. A rebuttal, and then we move to the next item.
Thank you very much. I would like to clarify what Honorable Rice has said. We are not asking for constituency-based, even though it was in one of our desires before, but we got enough explanations on that. But what we are saying, we know that like for the cabinet, there's at least one minister who is in charge of a district, if I'm not mistaken. Every district has at least a minister who is like a focal point for that. So this is what we are saying, that today, since the parliament has 80 members, and we have 30 districts in Rwanda, so we are saying that at least, we are not saying that this parliamentarian coming from here, because we will all be representing the whole country. So we can get at least 2 or 3 MPs focused as focal points for that district, who will be following up that district, all the questions from that district. They could go and listen to the people. And then I agree that when they get those questions or those demands, then they channel them to the different authorities who are concerned. Because one of the roles of the parliament is to do advocacy for the citizens. So there's no way you can do advocacy for citizens when you don't listen to them, when you don't know their problems. So, and as we have seen, that sometimes the people have problems with the local authorities, and they have no remedy, they have no one to tell. That's why they go direct to the President of the Republic to tell him. So, but if the MPs could be, could reach the people more often, as we are proposing, at least once or twice a month, I think the budget can allow that. Then perhaps we would be able to be more in touch with the people, and then we make laws which are also people-friendly. It would help to make the country move forward.
Right. Well, as I want us to close on that issue of citizen participation before we move to some of the other talking points in the program, I want to hear your closing thoughts on that issue as far as what sort of promise is the RPF promising among the citizens as far as its candidates are concerned. If they make it to the next house, what are they going to do different as far as changing the face of citizen participation is concerned?
Well, there is something we must agree on. Reaching out for citizens has not been satisfactory. That's a fact. Mechanisms have been there, have been designed, but the way they were put into action happened not to actually respond to the demand of the citizens. And this has been aired every now and then whenever the president could go around the country. This actually kind of interpellates the coming legislature to actually put more emphasis on this. When I started talking about that, I said maybe, not maybe, as someone who had even the experience, there was much to do on other levels, and that one actually has been not disregarded, but hasn't been given enough attention. What is going to be done now is that actually parliamentarians, MPs will have to work closely with the citizens.
Right. This is
much
a promise.
more than, yes, this is a promise, and RPF is very clear on that point. They are going to work much closely with the citizens.
Are we expecting to see a recall, if possible, of any member who fails to actually adhere to this?
That would depend, of course, on the mechanisms that will be put there, and on the evaluation that will be made. By the way, you perfectly know that whoever fails on this, on his or her engagement, will definitely respond. It is a matter of accountability, and this country is known for being really, for enforcing the accountability side. So whatever mechanisms we'll put there, we cannot actually go into details on that. We'll come to reinforce that need of an outreach to citizens that will be given actually priority in this coming legislature.
Right.
Otherwise, the three functions that the parliament has got, being actually standing for the people, being representatives of the people, controlling the action of the government, and voting laws will definitely be done as it was done before. But precisely and specifically, this aspect of reach out has been given a priority.
Has been given a priority. I want to go to Kizito, but in just one line, there's a worry in that statement that you said, whatever mechanism that will be put in place, yet someone watching us and seeing the magnitude of this challenge would be thinking that already parties have already put up mechanism already as we speak to deal with this issue, so that when we vote second and third, we have this issue sorted already. So why don't we already have this mechanism? Which you say?
Oh, by the way, mechanisms are there. The parliament itself has got a set of arrangements that are there to have the MPs actually reaching out for citizens. We have what we call commonly descent. When people go down to the villages and they stay months there and they work with the populations over different challenges, that mechanism is already there.
Adjusting it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And this time making it more regular, more even evaluating eventually.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
On what will be the outcome of that before definitely seeing the impact.
Right. Kizito, what mechanism has PSD put so that its members reach out more, much as they'll be working together with other parties? What mechanisms have you put in place?
Thank you. In this term of 5 years, the politics of PSD will be citizen-centered politics in general.
How will you implement that?
Yeah, as far as parliamentarians are concerned, normally we have local authorities. We have a district, we have sectors. We are going to strengthen the kind of working together of our parliamentarians with the local authorities. For example, something called the governance maps.
Right.
You know, accountability days, you know, other
So all these things are available.
Other forums.
Yes. So how do you make sure that they are yielding results, that they are working for the purpose they're supposed to work for, reaching out to the people, making sure that the people's needs are actually catered for? What mechanisms have you put as a party to ensure this?
Yeah, the mechanisms that we're going to put in place first, it's to raise the level of accountability of our parliamentarians, to monitor them or to make sure that they participate in these events, community works, governance months, in the meetings with opinion leaders, with development partners from their districts. Here we are lucky that most of the parliamentarians from PSD come from all the districts of Rwanda. So to monitor them, it will be easy. We're going to put in place a monitoring mechanism to be sure that they go out, they reach out the citizen.
If they don't?
Normally we have a code of conduct. We have the code of conduct. We are going to put much emphasis on the special focus on this for the this next term. If they don't do it, disciplinary measures
will
be taken.
All right. How about you, Dr. Balinda, as PL? I want to hear more on the mechanisms of ensuring that this works. You know, we already have most of what to do. We know what to do. But the reason why we don't do it is what is beating logic. And so what sort of mechanisms have we put to ensure that the members of parliament from PL work in tandem with others to ensure that they reach out to citizens?
Yeah, thank you. As others pointed out, the mechanisms are there. We know what to do. Now, the next step is to establish a monitoring system, whether members of the parliament actually, they are moving from the offices, they are going to find out what people need and work with them, listen to their voices, then actually work upon their desires. And so this monitoring system is going actually to reveal whether the one or two mechanisms are working or other ones are not working. Therefore, find out if you can change or if you can maintain them.
Right.
So we have to emphasize that this is an issue of accountability. And you have rules and regulations actually emphasizing whoever fails on the accountability issue. So from PL perspective, we encourage and actually we emphasize on this issue. We have put much attention on the advocacy actually when we reach there, reaching the parliament actually, we advocate for this so that it is given much priority than it used to be.
Right, Dr. Abineza, I mean, they've said, we know what to do. Most of them insinuating the issue of accountability and ensuring that, you know, the rules are followed, what is written and agreed upon is done. So what are you proposing to be done to those members of parliament who will not reach out to their citizens? What do you think should be done there?
Thank you very much. And I think before I propose what should be done to those who don't do it, I have proposals of what can be done to reach out. So we have different proposals. One of them is what I mentioned earlier. So we have, maybe I can mention two others. One of them is we're going to introduce a new system called citizen-driven bill. So citizen-driven bill will be an approach whereby citizens can also directly participate in the legal process, whereby we can introduce an online platform on the website of the parliament, and then we give people a chance to submit in the ideas online, and we can also introduce an SMS system as well. So here people can introduce an idea from civil society, from religious organizations, or even independent citizens. And then an idea like that can be voted on by people online, and so that would be an idea coming from the people. And then the members of parliament would see how many people have supported this idea. Then the parliament can sit and also discuss on that idea. So that should be one way of involving the people. Even without going there, people can send in their issues on the internet, or even by open up an SMS line or a telephone line, which is free. That's one. Two, we're also thinking that on the legal process, still a legal formulation, either if there are bills coming from the cabinet or from the executive, or if there are acts of the parliament, the laws which are going to be made, we believe that if an idea or a bill comes through the system, we say at a district level, we could go and consult with the people. So we want to increase the consultation with the population. We say to them, look, we have this law which concerns you. Do you have any ideas on this law? And people can give their ideas. And then we can come back into the parliamentary committees and discuss these ideas which came from the people, and they see how we can include them. So we think that this will be another practical way of involving people into legal formulation. And this also helps people to like or to be happy with the laws. Because sometimes when we go to the villages or up country, yeah, people are complaining about the laws that are being made. And also you find that one of the things people are saying that, oh, these parliamentarians, we've never seen them ever since we voted for them. But also the laws, sometimes they say they're not friendly. So we want so people to have more love for their country when they're involved. When you consult them, I think they would be, yes, of course, you cannot consult everybody, the 10 million. But if you have these structures, as I mentioned, the district level or sector level, at least the majority of them, if you could be able to reach out to them, it would help to reduce the criticism which I've been seeing on the past parliament.
On those ends, let me hope that the viewers have actually watched this and they've actually taken note of some of those points that have been said right there, and probably will be able to help you make a fair judgment or a better judgment when you go to the ballot. I want us to move the conversation now and also go into the issues of concern right here. Some of them that we just picked here randomly, but of course we'll be able to see if they can be able to be talked about right on the program. One of them is on the question of land, which is an emotive issue, not just here in Rwanda, but across the continent. Land is a very, very sensitive issue. And Dr. Habineza, you actually said while on the campaign trail in Muhanga that your party, if elected to parliament, will actually push for land reforms. And you have actually been consistent saying that you will actually introduce reforms that will remove taxes on land. The question is, what is informing these statements that you're making?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, that's correct, yes. We have that in our manifesto, also in our program since last year. We have two aspects on land. One is land ownership. So the current land law we have in Rwanda gives ownership to the state. So all citizens of Rwanda, or all habitants of Rwanda, they lend, or they are, do you call it renters? They're tenants. We are all tenants to the state. No one in Rwanda has total ownership of land. We are all tenants. So we as a party, we have been discussing this. We say that since this land was given to us by the Supreme God, I mean to the people of Rwanda, we believe that we should have our ownership on our plot of land, or whatever you call it, or piece of land.
So what are you proposing?
So first of all, we want to own land, to revise the law so that we don't lend or we don't become tenants to the state, but we own it. So we
you
give
want
it
to
total.
pay nothing to the government?
That's number one. So then the state can have some of its land, which can do some activities, or some, like, of course the state has mountains, it has the swamps, it has the lakes and rivers. It can also have another land. But my plot of land, I need to own it fully. And then we will have to scrap that tax. But tax can be applied on where there's commercial activities are taking place. So if there's a commercial building there, or something productive, that can pay tax. But my plot of land, your piece of land, you should own it fully.
Right.
And the state should have its own land. Right. That's what we are saying.
Right. We'll come back on another round. Dr. Barinda, what is your take on this issue of land? As far as those suggestions are being made, how do we deal with the issue of land here in Rwanda?
Yeah, thank you. As far as land issues is concerned, the law, by today, the law is clear. And the way actually we own and we rent land, so far the government hasn't opposed anyone who want to exploit the land within the framework of rules and the regulations. And paying tax on land, from PL perspective, actually, paying tax, it is one of the obligations of people. As far as it is discussed, and people actually, they are educated to contribute to the rebuilding and the building of their country.
You don't agree with Dr. Wineza's proposal of removing the land tax?
Surely, from PL perspective, we do not agree with that, because we know that we need to contribute through taxes and other forms of contribution of building the country. So from the liberal perspective, actually, the contribution of citizens is more valued through various ways that the people can agree upon. And so far, issues related to land law, actually, we don't have any, let me say, concern about any reform on that.
It's not a matter of concern for
Yes.
PL.
Yes.
How about you, Kizito?
Yeah.
As PSD, what is your position on that proposal by
Yeah,
Dr.
on the agenda of PSD, we have two issues on the land. First, we are saying that if we win these elections, we shall revise the land use master plans.
How will you revise it? What will you be targeting to remove or to adjust?
First, the land should separate. We have two issues there. We have the land which should be reserved for the cultivation. And we have also the land that should be reserved for other development activities or projects. The tendency today is that it is like we are not paying attention to the land that should be reserved for cultivation. It's like we are using it in an organized way. So we say that this issue of land should be clearly the organized or the orientation, so that we know the land which is reserved for development project, the land which is reserved for cultivation. It's as if farming will become an issue in the 15 or 100 years from now, if there is not just a kind of separation, a kind of demarcation of if we don't pay attention to this issue of land.
Right. Do you think the issue of removal of taxes on land that is owned by people is something that you would support as well as PSD?
No, removing the taxes on land, we don't agree with removing the taxes of land. But what we have on our agenda is that if, for example, I'm using the land for this purpose, then when I change the purpose for which I'm using the land, so I should have 5 years before starting to be taxed. That's what we have on our agenda. Right. So the issue of removing taxes completely, we don't agree with.
You don't agree with that.
Yes.
How about you, Wallace? This is something that has been a motive for quite some time. And of course, even as you come in, we understand that there was actually some reform that was made as far as land and property tax is concerned. What we know is that currently districts heavily rely on central government for funding, and actually that accounts to more than 90% of the finances. And earlier on, there was actually what was seen as the migration from land lease to fixed assets tax regime, where in the new law, the provision that required taxpayers to have freehold land title to pay fixed assets tax has actually been removed. But the question here is on what Dr. Wineza is proposing, that if I own this land, I'm not doing any commercial activity on it, why am I being taxed for this? I mean, is this something that you agree with him on?
By the way, there is something we should agree on. When you pay tax on something, it is because you own it. If I don't own land, I will not pay tax on land. I think this we should agree on that. Ownership, when land, the issue of land to be regulated is a necessity for this country. We know how much land we have, and this land will never be stretched, will never be extended beyond our borders. So that's why we should understand that regulation is a necessity on this. Now, tax paying. I think there's no one who has ever accepted to be imposed a tax on this or that. I always feel that I should pay the less tax I could pay. So that's why I think this issue has been actually very hot, especially these last days when you have laws and regulations that are set and in the interest, actually in the ultimate interest
of the people,
of the collectivity. We have a principle in RPF in Watanyi to strive for the collective interest much more than the individual interests. So we should forego the individual interest to really cater for the interest of the collectivity.
Which one here is the individual and which one is the collective?
The individual is actually this resistance we are feeling when we talk of reforming all that is concerned with land. I won't go into the specificities, but really when you see the resistance that is being opposed, it is simply because we reflect on our own individual. Mr. Frank has been very explicit, said we should own land. I say we own land, and that's the reason why we pay tax on that land. If we don't pay tax on that land, it simply means that it is government property. It is. We used to have examples in villages. The other day we were doing some reforestation exercise in the northern part of this country, and then we planted trees in citizens' land. The next day the trees were removed because they said you want this land to become public land. Of course, that also needs education. We did simply plant to protect that land in the interest of the individual who was owning it, but he was not convinced we were doing it for his own interest. Definitely there was a collective interest in that, because when we protect his land, it means the adjacent land is being also protected, and therefore we fight against erosion. So that was something else. But when you pay a tax on land, it is simply because you own it. And there is no way really, if we want to mean that this country should attain a certain level of independence in terms of all we receive from outside as foreign aid or as a support to our budgets and so on. So we should somewhere, everyone should somewhere support some kind of contribution in any form whatsoever, including taxes.
Including taxes.
And this is why taxes actually shouldn't be removed.
Right. I'm going to give Dr. Frank a chance also to rebuttal that, but of course, before we go there, the increase in the tax rate, Banawelas, if I can quote what has been written in the dailies, is that various studies were conducted on taxation of property in Rwanda showed that Rwanda's current fixed asset tax rate of 0.1% was too low compared to other countries in the region and beyond. And the question is, how do we compare ourselves to the other countries in the region as far as these issues are concerned? Were we too, this decision based on the East African community or the other countries in the region and the rest of the world, was it too out of context? Because we all have different context as far as our country is concerned and the others are concerned.
By the way, comparison is always very dangerous because you don't have the same situation, don't have the same context, you don't even have the same amount of land that is available for citizens. It is actually daring to compare yourself to Tanzania, for instance, who have got large lands there that are used as parks.
But this is what happened. Well, this is what happened.
Well, I don't think this is what happened. It is simply because at some point we have to benchmark. We have to benchmark with existing realities in the sub-region or in the region in general, but simply this serving as a starting point, but not as a baseline on which we should actually compare ourselves.
Right. Okay. Dr. Abineza, do you want to respond?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm not refusing that people should not pay taxes. Though we have also our taxation policy is different maybe from what others have. We are saying that yes, people can pay taxes on where the land has commercial value. We know that government has still a right on the mineral value under your land. So if they find minerals, there's a procedure of what can be done. What we are saying is that a plot of land, your piece of land should be yours. The government, or the state, not the government, the state can have its land, can also own the underground, as it is the case. But the piece of land which is yours, you don't need to pay tax for that. Yes. We also pay taxes in many other things. We pay VAT 18%. We pay so many other taxes. So basically, if I have a plantation there which is making money, I can pay tax for that. I'm not refusing. But I need to have total ownership on my small piece of land, and so that if my children, I can say, they go to Kuraga and Rwanda, so that you can say that, okay, like let me say, like for example, like my father, where he's born, he has where his father gave him, or his grandfather, a piece of like that. I know even Honorable Gasamajira is the same case. But now, like where I am in Kigali, which I can call my piece of land, which I bought, I own it for 25 years. And I know it's the case for many people in Rwanda. They own it for 25 years in the city. In the villages, it's 49 years. And for those who are very privileged, 99 years. So that's what you are renting for that from the state. So basically, after 25 years, it means that the state, which is where I'm renting from, can decide to put a school there, or can decide to put a road there. It means that I'm not owning, so I'm just paying tax. It's like you're renting a house on someone, or it's like a mortgage, right. Kind of, yeah. So basically, we need to change that. It's not very difficult yet. I think it's an issue of discussion and understanding, and then we separate the land. We also have other mechanisms. We want to make a proper land use plan, nationwide, and from the village level, cell level, whereby we can differentiate land for agricultural purposes and land for settlements, or for habitants, up to the national level. And that would help us to know which land is meant for what and which is meant for what, which can be for the people, which can be for the state. It could be easier as that.
Right. You see, already out of this, it's not a scientific poll, but of course, out of this group that we are here right now, you seem to be on your own as far as the issue of removing taxes on the land.
And that's democracy.
And that is democracy indeed. Yes. But if you go to the House, you need to convince the others.
Yes.
So how do you plan to do that if you go in the House?
Because in the Rwandan democracy, we also have another principle called the consensus building. So, and we have been practicing that in the political parties forum. So we believe that even though it is one idea, among us the many, we can discuss with others, convince them, they can agree or not agree, but that does not stop us from discussing and moving forward together. So we are not afraid that there will be many or will be few. Right. No, we think that we believe that we can do whatever we can do in a peaceful way, without fighting, in respect with each other. So we are not scared that, of the numbers. We believe that ideas can always be discussed in harmony.
Right. You have faith that you'll be able to build consensus on that particular issue. I'm still concerned about this because it's among the issues about citizens, and of course it also touches still on the issue of citizen outreach. You know, under this new reform that was actually brought about as far as land and taxation is concerned and property is concerned, one residential house will be exempted from the new property tax law. Isn't this enough, Habineza? Because initially, if you owned a house, more than one, all of them would be, you'd pay taxes for all of them. But of course, under this reform that was announced a few weeks ago, if you have more than one, that one that you live in, you will not be able to pay, or you will not be paying tax for it. Is that good enough?
No, I think it still goes into our logic. We are saying that if you have a property which is making a commercial value, which has commercial value, then that can pay tax.
Right.
But if you are living in a house, which I mean, you're not, even maybe it's even a mortgage, you don't need to pay tax for that. But if you have a property which is making money, then it should be pay taxes. There's no problem to that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's take a round.
But
Yes.
you have to remember, the last parliament, whereas they were revising this law, they made some things which were very surprising to us, because I think they have multiplied the land tax 10 times, tenfold. And they also say that houses which are below 30 millions, maybe would be, there will be a tax levy on them. But those above 30 million francs will pay taxes, and for some, they've differentiated the different number of years and so on. So these are new changes, which we think also need to be revised, because I think the Prime Minister was in a hurry to go, so they did this in a rush. So I think the next Prime Minister should be the first of responsibility to revise these laws so that we are all in a good harmony together.
I don't know what Dr. Marinda thinks. I mean, do you agree that they need to be revised? I want you to be very open on this, because at the end of the day, this is also part of what citizen outreach is concerned. I mean, what would you do to ensure that whatever decisions are made, there is a bit of consensus out of them? Because at the end of the day, these taxes, what we see as far as the reason or the logic behind it, was to ensure that the local areas actually do or become self-financing, self-sustainable, and detached from the central government, which actually pumps in more than 90% of their budgets. Let's read your thoughts on this.
Yeah, thank you. The PL take on this issue of taxes on the houses, especially the second residential house. Actually, if you own a house, that one is exempted according to this new reform. Then to the second one, you will have actually, what is the purpose of that second one? Probably we assume, and we largely assume that it is being used for business or other earning purposes.
Right.
So based on that, we say that paying tax on something that you are earning, it is not something bad. So for us, if we find that actually this law, it is not static. If tomorrow we find that it is not actually working properly, or it is not in line with what citizens want at the large majority after an extensive education, this can be also taken on the table and be discussed, and probably something else comes out.
Comes out of it.
But up to now, we find it is so logic to find that the second residential house that you have, to pay tax for it, there's nothing abnormal with that. While I'm still on the issue of land and taxes, actually, PL has seen that the land use in general has to be reorganized by actually highlighting where the agricultural land. Because you can see that if you look at the areas surrounding, for instance, the city of Kigali, some of them have been built, have been transformed into residential areas, while previously they were serving for agricultural area. Now, we are saying that we need actually to cater for this issue of settlement and precise the area which is for settlement and cater for the area which is for agriculture.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, these people, they will need something to eat. And with this, many will come from the agricultural sector.
Right. So population explosion is actually almost causing this. Let me move to Kizito, because for purposes of time, and for you, Kizito, what I want to ask you definitely is the fact that still remaining on this issue of land and tax and property tax, land tax will be determined as specific rates as determined by district councils. District councils under this reform will be actually determining the specific rates for these, pieces of land and the properties that are within these districts and these councils. What are the pros and cons of this? Already, as we talk of citizen outreach, what are people telling you about this? As far as their fears and concerns are, do they have any?
Yeah, we, as of now, PSD has not received any complaint from the citizen regarding the issue of proper taxes or land taxes. But our position is still clear. Now the law is clear on what to be taxed and what not to be taxed. But as we are going to reach out the citizens, hear their complaints. If this issue of proper taxes is raised, so we shall have time to discuss them, it with them, to see what can be, how to fix it.
Right. Okay. Let me hear from Willis. I mean, in closing on this issue of land and property tax, just talk to me, because as far as that particular issue of giving powers to the district councils to determine the rates for each of this property, some people are worried. What will they be basing on? Perhaps they will come and say that this one should be paying this amount, yet I object to that.
Jane, there is a principle which we actually should agree on. That is the dynamic character of any law whatsoever, or any policy that is said. Every law, every policy at some time comes to maturity. That's when it's no longer solving the problem it was supposed to solve. That's a principle that is there, and that is shared all over. Even this does not actually go beyond this principle. It was simply, it came out of a certain evaluation of a situation that is there.
Right.
And then there is a point, there is a time it might come to revision. The laws are revised, policies are come to maturity. That's understandable. When we talk, we say, specifically when you say local councils that are given the authority to
determine.
This is also something that is quite understandable. Government, once we have adopted the principle of decentralization, it means we are giving powers to those people who live close to the people to see what justly can be done to the people in a given context. So this also brings in the issue of actually measures that are being taken not being static. So it's dynamic. It's something that is going to be definitely proposed to the people, and we'll see the consequences. We'll see the results.
So it's not static. There is
hope.
If there's anything that comes up that people feel like they don't agree with, reforms can be done.
Yes, it may be revised. Reforms can be done. Then, when you say the use of land, well, first of all, the second residential house, I'm not coming back on it. It is quite understandable. Right. If you have a second house, a second residential house, it means you are using it for some purpose. Residential meaning that if, suppose you have your old mom who is living in it, I don't believe it is going to be taxed simply because it is a second one which is being used by your family. It is like your residential house. But these are details. Simply, I want to mean that the use of land as of today is something we must look into with a lot of precautions. We should look ahead of time. We shouldn't consider just only this situation. You have a piece of land, I have a piece of land. Do you think your grandchild will have that piece of land? The piece of land I have, 2 hectares I have today. I have 5 kids. The 5 kids produce another 5, that will make it 25. Take that piece of land and divide it with 25 kids.
So the moral of the story is what?
Well, the moral of the story is that we should look far beyond what we consider today as a problem. We should actually strategize and look for suitable solutions in the for our future, which actually shouldn't be limited to our view, shouldn't be limited by the hills we see around at the horizon. Let us look beyond.
Right.
That also will give us a story on this issue.
On the issue. And I want us to now just give some time to our audience, which has actually been tweeting. All we need you to do now is just go on our Twitter and add the hashtag InFocusRW, because that is exactly what I want to do right now. I just want to go through some of the tweets that have been coming through all this time that we've been having this talk over the last 1 hour, just to be able to understand what exactly you are saying on our social media platforms. The hashtag to add right there, as always, as we said, is InFocusRW. Let me just quickly check through what we have right here. I have one from Gaga who says that we really need a convincing argument in response to Habineza's question. Anangwe, here is a case. If these citizens are failing to afford fees for MUSA, how do you expect them to afford to pay those taxes? This is actually something in line with what Dr. Habineza said concerning the taxes on land and all that. I hope, Honorable Wellers, I think you can be able to take this. It's a concern right there that if they're not able to pay this, how do they then afford to pay the taxes that are being talked about right here? If you could just take that real quick.
Okay. Well, the answer is simple.
Right.
Such people who cannot afford to pay Musa, it means they have been categorized in a certain category of citizens who must be catered for, who must be supported in a way or another.
Right.
And I believe those people shouldn't be eligible for payment of that tax.
Right.
Very simple.
Okay. You want to respond?
Yeah, it is simple that these people who really don't have the capacity to pay those taxes, and the first category of the government caters everything for them.
So it is
yeah, it is clear.
Right. Any other?
Yeah, actually, people will not be able to pay. These things have to be looked at. Then, if they fall under the first category or the second category of UDE, the law is clear on that.
Right. The law is clear on that. This one is clearly an RPF Ingotanyi supporter who says that I can't agree with Mr. Frank Habineza and the Democratic Green Party removing taxes for land self-reliance. This is what he thinks. Dr. Habineza, you want to quickly respond, because they believe that those taxes are aimed at ensuring that those districts and those local areas are self-reliant.
Yeah, well, I can respond to that. I think to me or to us, the issue of land also concerns citizenship. Because when you have your land, I am Rwandese, me, I was not born in this country, but I'm Rwandese because my father was born here and because my father has an ancestral home, or ancestral place where he calls his home. And I think the others, it could be the same case. So let's say in 20 years' time, or when I don't have my land anymore, in case I don't have it, how will my children say that the citizens of Rwanda, or when they have nothing here, they don't have, their father does not have a land, or they will just maybe have a passport, but that's all. So I think the issue of land is a very serious issue that we need to discuss once again, because it concerns our citizenship. Self-reliance, yes, but you need to be self-reliant in your home. I mean, we need to have a home first, a base first, when we are not tenants, when we have ownership, when we have a base, and then it can be small, but at least you say that this is my home, this is my grandfather's home, this is my father's home. Yes, you can be staying in another country, in America, or in Uganda, or in Kenya, but when you say that my ancestral home is in Rwanda, and that's where our peace is, and you know that that peace will not be changed in 20 years.
Right.
It will not be taken away in 25 years.
Okay. Anybody wants to react to that? Just real quick.
Oh, very quickly.
Yeah.
I think there is no point of land and citizenship, because there are so many people here in this country, as of today, who don't have land in this country, and they are citizens. Simply like that.
Simply like that. You want to rebuttal?
I think we can take the discussion on the next level.
Okay. Could we call that 10-0?
No, I mean, my point was clear.
Okay,
so
your point was clear.
Spend,
Butera Michael 3 says that one of the crucial tasks of Parliament is oversight. Is there any strategy, oversight mechanisms candidates are forging up to hold the executive on accountability parameters, if any? Real quick, I don't think I'm going to ask this to Honorable Welas, but of course, let's start with the ones who are actually, PSD. What mechanism do you have for oversight mechanisms to ensure that you're holding the executive to account?
Thank you. As I said, let me talk on behalf of parliamentarians of PSD.
Right.
Normally, the executive has been accountable. We can't say that the executive has not been accountable. But as I said, we are going. It's like a wake-up call. We're going to make a wake-up call. Right. That you have to put much emphasis on this issue, and internally, as I said, internally, we are going to put in place a kind of performance assessment of
performance contract for the president and the executive.
Yes, to be in order to monitor or to be able normal to hold our people accountable.
Doctor, real quick.
As far as the oversight is concerned, I might say that mechanisms of oversighting, they are there. But what we will encourage and what we will emphasize on is to be proactive, to anticipate.
To be proactive.
Yeah, to be proactive, because some of these oversight activities, they are being done probably when some implementation activities actually have been underway, expenses have been engaged, then it is too late actually to recover what you have to recover or to catch up. Now, this oversight actually will be throughout the process, at the beginning of the project,
during,
throughout,
and after.
Then at the end of the project.
Right. Frank?
Yeah, I think oversight, of course, it's one of the key roles of the Parliament, which we can call checks and balances to the executive. I think there are so many things available that can help the Parliament to check what's going on. Like say, the Auditor General's report every year. The Auditor General mentions how much money has been lost by the executive, different
That's the Auditor General, but what about Parliament? When you go in there, what sort of strategies do you have in mind that will actually ensure that you perform this duty?
Yeah, okay. We have already the Parliamentary Accounts Committee, I think, PAC, which has been doing a good job there. I think we will try to give more capacity to PAC to do what it has been doing, but this time involving the whole Parliament, right, in the controlling and seeing how the resources of the government have been being used, but also in seeing how the manifesto of the president is being implemented, because I think the president made a lot of promises for the next 7 years. So the Parliament needs to see that these promises are being implemented, and the institutions in charge of implementing them are doing their work. And if not, then we have to call all those institutions, if they are ministers or parastatals, call them for accountability in the Parliament. And if there is something wrong, they should be held accountable or be prosecuted. If some funds are being lost, that will make sure that those funds are returned, recovered. So these are some of the mechanisms we can use.
Right. Perfect. Citizen outreach for next MPs should go beyond visiting local public offices, that is district, sector or cell offices, and reach people at their working places, such as visiting cooperatives at their working places to hear their thoughts and challenges. What was difficult, Honorable Welas, to have the past House do this to a point where this young man feels that it didn't happen and he wishes that the next House does it? Real quick, because we have only like 4 minutes to go.
That's actually a very good question that is being raised, because when we mean reaching out, we should also ask ourselves where we reach out.
Right.
And this is what the person who has asked the question is referring to. So where are you going to actually reach out to the citizens?
Right.
I agree with him or her, I don't know, I didn't see whether it is a he or she,
Yes.
On the fact that actually reaching out should focus on where the wound is,
Right.
and where it pains. That's actually where the reach out should focus.
Right.
So it is simply an advice he's giving, and I do totally agree with
You
him.
agree with that. Another one, if all commissions in Parliament worked like the Parliamentary Accounts Committee, we would fill the Parliament. People consultation needs to be improved. I think we've had the panelists talk a bit about that as well. Let's take a look at this one. One of the biggest things we would like them to enhance is how citizens are serviced by local leaders, representatives, basically from Umudugudu to the district. This is absolutely still the channel which is not straight and it is badly serviced. Kizito, what do you think about that? Just real quick because we don't have much time.
Yeah, I totally agree with that comment.
Right.
That we should normally strengthen or empower those local leaders, especially from Umudugudu, from the villages, to be able first to plan to plan for the development of Umudugudu, and be able to solve those socio-economic problems or complaints of the local in the Umudugudu, and also the development challenges.
Right. Okay. Another one here. Taxes on land lease is as old as humankind. Can Dr. Abineza tell us what local government own resources or revenues would come from? I mean, this is a quick one. You can just definitely respond.
I mean, local governments can get, they tax almost everything. They tax trees, they tax everything that goes into the market, they tax these cars, buses, taxes, what? I mean, everything. So the land, that is our, we still believe that should not be taxed because there are a lot of sources of revenues for the local government authorities.
Okay. So that is as simple as you can put it. Let's take your final thoughts. I mean, where do we move from here? We have said it. These are things that we knew about. So I just want to take your final thoughts. Just let me start with you, Dr. Frank Abineza. Moving forward, if voted, I see your name is actually first on the list. I think this is to give you higher chances, okay? As far as, you know, when you get those percentages, you could be able to see yourself in there. So when you go in there, what is it that you haven't told Rwandans that you'd like to tell them today that you do differently when you go to Parliament?
Yeah, of course, as I said, the first thing we'll do is to make sure that citizen outreach program is improved, whereby we're going to involve the people of Rwanda into registration processes. As I said, we'll make sure that we consult them before laws are made, and also set up this online platform to have the citizen-driven bills, where people from civil society all over Rwanda, or NGOs, or even individual citizens from the villages can propose an idea. And then we make sure that at the district level, there's a way we can be visiting these people at least twice a month.
Right.
And people can send their ideas even through SMS. I mean, it will make it simple people to reach the parliament, to give their ideas to the parliament, and then we make sure that we are all moving together as one country.
Right. How about you?
Yeah.
Just real quick. Yeah.
The PL's take on this, we will actually strengthen the existing mechanisms because some of them are actually still very relevant. Then, in addition, actually, we'll have to put in place accountability days and special sessions whereby actually the outreach will be organized across the country at least twice in a month.
In a month.
Then actually improve the participation.
Improve participation. Kizito, very quickly.
Yeah, we are planning in this term to put more focus on the citizen-centered parliament if we win these elections.
Right.
As we said, we have to put in place internal accountability mechanisms for our people who will be in the parliament. And also we shall have a kind of performance assessment based on this participation. And we have we are going to multiply the hearing sessions, and our people will participate in development forums to know the challenges of the citizen, and also we are also thinking of having a citizen outreach plan for our people.
Right. Honorable Elas, you have the last word.
Thank you very much. RPF has never failed Rwandans, and it has always delivered on pledges whenever it promises anything. Over the last 24 years, it is not going to be an exception today. RPF is committed to its pledges, and reaching out, specifically reaching out to citizens, we shall strengthen the existing mechanisms. But we shall lend an ear to any improvement that could be proposed, because we know we are in a pluralistic democracy, so we listen also to any positive improvement.
Right, perfect. Thank you so much. They've said it right here in your face, before you, and of course it's a commitment that they've made, and of course we will definitely be able to hold them accountable to their own words right here as the Fourth Estate. We're hoping that you've had a great show, and of course we'll be able to come back on these issues with the other candidates, if that may, on the same particular matters next time, same place. Of course, my name as always is Eugene Anangua. Let's keep the conversation going. We'll see you again next time. Goodbye for now.